Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and yeah, had a bit of a busy week last week, so I didn't get around to doing a lot of the stuff I normally do, you know. But here we are, the final episode of Spider Noir for this season. Maybe overall, it's hard to say. And well, now Silvermane's men have been watching Ben's office. And it's here we find that Layden starting to think, maybe we don't have to be taking orders from Silvermane. Maybe he and Flint should run the whole thing themselves. Now, of course, he also doesn't believe that he gets sicker the more often he uses his mutation because he feels fine. He feels strong every time he sucks in electricity. Anyway, while that's been happening, Cat has contacted Janet to ask her, after she gets slapped a couple times for the betrayal she did to Ben and her, um, that if they can get the last two antidotes to Cat, she can give them to Flint and Layden. Because she can get close. Well, okay, maybe. So later, she leaves the office to go to Robbie's, where Ben's still recuperating. She is followed by Silvermane's men, so that after she tells Ben about what Cat wants, Ben, see, yeah, it's not a bad idea. But then Flint and Layden come in. Silvermane wants to see Ben, and unfortunately, the antidotes are in his overcoat, which they don't let him grab before he heads out. So they take him to Silvermane. What does Silvermane want with Ben? Very simple. He wants Ben to call the spider and tell him to not cure any more of the mutants. He needs them for his army. Well, Ben says he'll do it, but he needs some cash. He's down on his luck private eye after all, so there's some back and forth between the two. Silvermane starts off at 500. Ben starts off at 10,000. They finally agree on two. Although both admit Ben would have done it for 1,000, and Silvermane admits he would have done it. He would have paid him 10. Anyways, he calls Robbie and pretends to have a conversation with the spider. Silvermane takes over the phone. So Ben tries to imitate the spider's voice. And they set up a meeting. So now they gotta wait. How are they gonna do this? And while everyone's talking, Layden finally remembers where he knows Ben from. It's been bugging him ever since he saw him the first time. And then he remembers. He was one of the men that rescued them in France, which gives Silvermane the suspicion Ben might actually be the spider. Now, then he pulls out a gun. Actually, it's Cat's gun. He has her handed to him. And he says he knows that Ben doesn't care about anyone. He hasn't since Ruby died. But the spider, he does care. He cares about people. He spends a lot of time rescuing them. So if Ben isn't the spider, then he won't stop him from shooting Cat. Now, as this is happening, Ben's trying to get some web fluid going, but he hasn't recovered enough. His body's still too worn down, so he can't produce any. Cat then turns the tables on everybody, admitting she's the one who hired the pyromaniac to kill Silvermane, and that she has done everything she's done because she's madly in love with Flint and was wanting the antidote to cure him. Well, that is just too much for Silvermane. And I love the way she ends it. She said, "Don't kill me to prove something about Ben. Kill me because I hate you." And he's about to do it when the spider shows up. Robbie wearing the outfit. And they start going back and forth, and, come work for me. I want the antidote. Da 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 da. Then the other men come in. Janet was outside. She actually has the antidotes on her. So Layden takes him and then comes up behind the spider and uses one of them to inject him, which causes Ben to convulse and collapse. And then he gives him a shock. Yep. He falls over immediately. Okay, it works. We tested it. But he's not going to give the last two antidotes. There's like 3 in there, I guess. The last 2 to Silvermane. It's time he took over. Now, this is back and forth. Now we're going to find out. Oh, okay, so what's going on here? And first they're going to kill the spider since he's just a man now. And that's when, through all this, Ben finally has enough adrenaline going. His powers come on, and he uses his webbing to grab the last 2 antidotes. And then there's this huge fight raging all over the club. He takes out most of the henchmen before getting knocked behind the bar with Robbie, where he takes his costume from him, puts it back on. Then he, Flint, and Layden then continue to fight outside. And he's not doing too well. He actually loses one of the antidotes trying to inject Layden. Layden gives him so much electricity his muscles convulse. His hand snaps the vial, just crushing the glass. So that one's useless. Well, that's been going on. Cat retrieved her gun and chased Silvermane to the top of the building, where they come upon a hall of mirrors, where they have a little back and forth while she shoots all the mirrors. And now he's ready to kill her. But gun was still loaded and she kills him. And he says before he dies, he's glad that when it came, it was her who did it. Magnanimous of him. Meanwhile, outside, the spider's getting the worst of it. He's getting shocked and beat, knocked around. And Flint's like, okay, I think you proved your point. No, I haven't. Layden loves to talk. He loves to be verbose. He's a star. At that point, Cat comes down, tells him to stop. And he taunts her. Gun's empty. Clicks on an empty chamber. So he shocks her. Is she dead? Could be. Well, that's too much for Flint, who attacks him. Unfortunately, Flint doesn't know science too well. Or has not read the Electro, the debut issue of Electro and Spider-Man. Otherwise, he would know. Electricity passed through sand creates glass. And he turns him into glass, making him practically defenseless. And he collapses into Cat's arms. Not dead. But before he can finish them both off, the spider webs him and throws him into the path of a speeding train. So I don't know if he's dead or not, but he's pretty well splatted. Yay! And then he gives the final antidote to Cat for Flint. He could have taken it himself. He's been wanting to. And she's confused, but that's okay. He, gives one of those, you know why I gave it to you, and leaves. Now we get the wrap up, where we have Silvermane's funeral, which is attended by Flint, now human, and Cat, as well as Ben off in the shadows. They have a last meeting. Apparently, Flint and Cat are going out of town with most of Silvermane's money. They have given a good portion to Ben for things, for helping them in this, which is, and we later learn, not only has the mayor been reelected, which we get some funny back and forth between Ben and Robbie as they discuss politics. I don't even know if he was a Republican or Democrat. Well, what did it say next to his box when you voted for him? I don't know. This piece of crap or that piece of crap. Anyway, it turns out Robbie used his money to buy a newspaper, the Harlem Herald, so now he is a real newspaper man and can dictate policy. Janet has taken over renovating the office. And what does Ben want? Well, he thinks he'd like a hot dog. So they all leave to have Ben or Robbie pay for the hot dogs. He owns a paper after all. And it's here we find that Janet is a full-fledged partner. It is now Riley and Ruiz investigations. And that's how we end. Pretty good ending. Everything gets wrapped up. People we care about live. People we don't like die. Maybe, maybe not in some cases, in case there's a sequel and they need someone to come back. And it was a really great scene during the fight. Excuse me a second. Where was I? Oh, yeah. There's a really cool scene in the fight where the spider grabs two cars with his webs and slams them together into Flint, and he just crumbles in the grains of sand. And then we later see him reconstitute himself. Really cool. Probably the best effect scene in the entire run of the season, in my opinion. Loved it. Some good acting. I always like it when a hero doesn't just win automatically without any effort. That's boring. There's no suspense in that. I know there's some people, they love that. They want to see Superman or Batman, come in and just mop the floor with everyone and not break a sweat. One of the reasons I liked Robert Pattinson's Batman, he makes mistakes. Some of his fights he doesn't. He wins all his fights, but it takes him a while. And the last fight, in the Coliseum, he didn't win it first. I like that. It builds tension. It's more exciting as opposed to just mowing down a bunch of people. I know some people like that, but as I said again, great acting. There's a lot of good humor in it. Like when Janet finds Freddie, the little street kid, trying to pick the lock on their money box. And she just kind of takes it away from him. At her constant correcting of his speech, which he then goes, well, make up your mind, which is and of course, the complaining to the workman about the wobbly desk, which he goes, yeah, how am I supposed to do my geometrics on a wobbly desk? He's even got a nice new suit. You know, the byplay between Robbie and Ben, that's always great. And really exciting fight scene at the end. Just loved all that. Yeah, really good ending to the series or season, whichever turns out to be. So if we don't get another one, we did get this one, and it was great. Well, until next time, please hit like, share, and subscribe.